that I managed to stop you trepanning. I know your friends said it was all right.
Yeah, don't worry, I've got the tool now.
Yeah, but I think if you start drilling holes in people's heads, you're really only going to come unstuck.
I'm not doing it with the Black & Decker anymore.
Are you not?
No, no.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Now, there's a competition being run in the New Scientist that I'm sure a lot of you will probably want to have a go at. They are giving away, well, you've got two choices. Well, listen, why don't I let the editor of the New Scientist magazine tell you, Jeremy Webb, hi.
Hi there.
Now, Jeremy, tell me about this fantastic competition you're running.
Well, the winner can, if you like, live later or live today. They're the two options. The live later one is the option which seems to be getting most of the pickup.
Yeah.
And that is to have your body frozen when you die, in the hope that at some point in the future,
yes,
technology will develop to such a limit that they'll be able to revive you.
Yes, yep.
The alternative for those people who think that it's all nonsense and it will never work, and there are a lot of those, is that we will fly the winner and a friend to Hawaii for a week, and rather than the future, they can look up at the stars from Hawaii and look back millions of years.
What a brilliant, brilliant person, and so wonderfully warm you are. Why... Apparently, the prize of getting yourself frozen is worth £28,000.
Yep.
And unless you're doing a remarkably great holiday for a week, I can't see a holiday in Hawaii being anywhere near £28,000.
Well, sorry, do they have to be the same price then?
Well, I thought they should be, if it's fair. I mean, is one a booby prize?
Well, no. I mean, you make your choice, and you get your money. It's the other way round to normal.
Oh, so do you get the 28,000 in cash?
No.
It's getting worse.
That will go straight to
worse.
That will go to the Cryonics Institute. The people are getting too obsessed with money here. The prize is
really?
The prize is the prize. It's the possibility of living in the future.
You and I both know that's total bollocks, but let's play the game a little more. I mean, honestly, Jeremy, if you're going to give a prize away, it should be the same value, surely.
I don't know why you're getting obsessed with that.
Well, because I think I'll be a bit cheated. I mean, I'm almost being forced to take the freezer.
You're being forced to take the freezer. I see.
I mean, if I won, one prize is worth fortunes, the other one's worth a couple of grand.
Yeah, but a lot of people won't want to be frozen because they think it'll never work.
Well,
so they'll want to go to Hawaii, won't they?
It'll never work. But listen, it's like a cheap funeral. I mean, a funeral's going to cost you more than a week in Hawaii, so you could look at it that way.
Yeah, well, you can look at it that way.
Actually,
I must admit, I hadn't thought of it that way at all up to now.
As you know, you see, it's always useful coming on my show.
Clearly.
What about that, Jeremy? Maybe you could redo it. You could give away the cryonic freezing or a traditional funeral.
But... I'm going to run into the same problem, aren't I?
Oh, I see. Living now and not then.
No, I'm going to run into the same problem. That how much did it cost to dig a hole and drop somebody in it? I mean, it's not very much.
Well, it's a lot more than a week in Hawaii. You'd be surprised.
I don't think so.
Oh, minimum for just a bog standard funeral now is about 10 grand.
That cannot be true.
With the stone, a nice stone.
With a nice stone. Catering for the
horses with the plumes.
Afterwards, all that sort of thing, Jeremy. Yes,
we clearly didn't research this properly.
No,
I mean, if that's true, we could have buried you and a friend or something.
Well, that's very, very kind of you, Jeremy. And
you could rent a crowd to come to your funeral as well.
Yeah, because a lot of New Scientist readers probably don't have an enormous quantity of friends. You could also do that.
That's very harsh. What makes you?
I don't know. It was funny. I'm sorry. I thought. I know some people who read the New Scientist and they don't have friends. That's it.
They get cremated, scientists.
Do they?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they don't believe in, varialization.
Oh, I don't think that's true because of it has terrible global warming impact if you cremate bodies.
Oh, Jeremy, listen, we are such big fans of global warming on this program.
Good. What, you like it?
Yes.
Well, it's all right. Well, it's just a little bit warmer, but.
It's exciting, Jeremy.
Well, when the hurricanes start to hit,
yes,
and the waters start to rise, you're not going to be so happy,
We don't care.
Fair enough. You obviously don't live in Raynham in Essex.
I've been through it. I don't think being in Raynham in Essex could be considered to be living anyway.
Gosh, you are a harsh man.
No. Now, listen, I've been to one of these Cryonics facilities in Folkestone.
Really?
Yeah.
That wasn't the Channel Tunnel?
No. Have you not been to this one?
No, I didn't realise there was one.
There's been an offshoot of one of the big Cryonics places in Folkestone now for, well, I filmed there about 15 years ago. In fact, the bloke in charge of it got very upset with me then. I couldn't understand why. We did show one of their promotional videos, of course, which put everybody off, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen the process happen myself.
Oh, it's fascinating. They suck all the fluids out of the body. They've got to get the body as warm as possible.
As warm as possible?
As soon as you snuffed it, they've got to have the body.
I thought they started to cool it straight away.
No, well, yeah,
they replaced the blood with antifreeze.
That's right. But they don't want the body to have been lying around and having tests on it. That sort of thing.
Absolutely.
They want it there fresh,
as quickly as they can get it.
Yeah. Then they suck everything out, stick antifreeze in, and that's it. But you see, we're missing a big trick here, really, Jeremy.
What's that?
Well, it doesn't really. I mean, because obviously you believe in God.
Sorry?
You believe in God.
Oh, I do.
Well, I mean, I would have thought. Doesn't the New Scientists promote a wholesome religious view of the world?
I don't...
Careful, Jeremy.
No, personally speaking, no, I'm afraid I'm a card-carrying atheist.
All right, well, it won't matter to you then.
But please, I stopped you in mid.
No, I mean, it won't matter at all. I mean, eternal torment, as far as you're concerned, doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't.
No, it won't matter then. It won't matter the fact that your soul will have left the body long before they start putting antifreeze in.
Now, that's a really interesting question. When does your soul leave your body, then? How long after death, as death is defined today?
Well, actually, as soon as the soul knows the body has no chance of coming back, then the soul goes.
Now, here's an interesting question. You know, there are people who've been drowned in very cold water.
And then come back.
And they come back, but they come back from like 40 minutes later. All right, now, but the soul's still there, is it? It's got to be,
because they knew. I mean, the soul knows. God knows.
Okay, all right.
God knows. You must have faith, Jeremy.
Okay.
You must have faith.
Let me pose this question then. Does the soul know that technology is or is not going to improve to such an extent that you will be able to bring somebody back to life after 1,000 years?
That's a good question, Jeremy.
Well,
that is such a good question.
Well, definitions of death have changed over the.
Shall I answer the question?
Oh, I'd love to hear the answer.
Yeah, we are in the last days.
We are in the last days of what?
We are in the last days. Armageddon is coming.
No.
Yeah, honestly.
No.
Honestly.
No.
And of course, God knows this. So, that ceases to even be a question you need to worry about. You were joking about global warming and everything else. The planet is in its last throes, so to speak.
Well, did you get that from one of your callers?
I've got a very good in with people that know these sort of things.
Okay.
I can't tell you where, otherwise the CIA may...
have to kill you.
Exactly. But it won't matter because the planet, of course, is in its last throes. There's a lot of scientists I know refuse to admit this and say, global warming is caused by man. Not caused by man at all. Not caused by man at all. But more than that, of course, there's a meteorite heading for us in the next few months.
Few months?
Yep, few months. But nobody's told anybody.
Your contact with the CIA is really good.
Oh, that was a different contact, but it's as good. As good.
Right.
I don't want to upset you anyway, Jeremy, because I think live life for the moment. So don't worry about tomorrow.
So you would advise any of your listeners to take the trip to Hawaii and make sure it's quick?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't advise them actually to take part in the competition, really, and because that would mean they'd have to buy your magazine, wouldn't it, really? And they've just heard now that you're sort of ungodly people not to be trusted.
No.
Really.
I was talking personally.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, I don't think Hawaii is a place I'd like to go to be honest.
Can you cash in the Cryonics prize?
No.
And the Cryonics prize, Jeremy, when I was doing this properly, it was a lot more than $28,000.
It was probably one of the companies. There are some commercial companies that do this.
Yeah.
We're talking to the Cryonics Institute in Michigan, which is a not-for-profit organisation.
Right.
So it's considerably cheaper than the commercial company.
Would this just be a head, or would it be the whole body?
This is the full body.
Could you take your dog? Because you know some people have their dogs done too.
Well, that's not in the price.
Isn't it? Well, it's just a thought. That'd be a nice added little thing. Actually, I have to tell you, I forgot to mention, but the Folkestone thing, all the people, they got half a dozen people apparently signed up. Nobody's died yet.
Well,
they've been running this facility with nobody in it now for 10 years or so, which seems a bit of a shame.
Well, you know...
Because the end is coming.
You've got to look at it this way. You know, the antifreeze keeps getting better and better. So the longer it takes before these people die, the more chance they stand of having their bodies properly preserved.
Some scientist chap I was talking to the other day said if you froze these people straight away with everything intact, not taking the stuff out, there's more of a chance they may be able to be revived at a later date. But taking the blood and the stuff out of the body and putting antifreeze in is a sure no-no that it's going to knacker them.
Well, that's definitely a very interesting point, because the antifreeze is not very good for your cells. And there are several things that they will have to conquer if cryonics is going to work in the future.
What would you take if you won the prize, Jeremy?
Well, if it was a prize, I would have my body frozen, because all right, look, you know, I don't actually think it's going to work, all this stuff, you know, but it might do. You see, the thing is that you don't know what the future's going to bring. So I don't really think it's going to work. But if there's a slim chance, let's say a 1% or a 0.1% chance of coming back in 1,000 years' time, wouldn't you like to come back and hear what the radio hosts on late night shows are, how they're intimidating and having a go at their listeners in all those years from now?
Seriously, Jeremy, I think that would be the height of arrogance for somebody to think that there was something special enough about them to live in a time that is not theirs. That's why, actually, I find people the serious ones, not like you and me, Jeremy, who want to be frozen, are pillocks of the first order. Each and every one of the ones I interviewed who put their name down for this were just the sort of people you wouldn't invite to a dinner party or want to go out and have a drink with. They, if you wanted to have people go forward to the next sort of the future and represent your time, the ones who want to be frozen would not be them.
But if they want to go and find out what the world's going to be like in 1,000 years' time or whatever,
they're born now. This is
going to the
their
moon,
time,
isn't it?
No. This is their time. Now is your time. This is when you were allotted space on this planet in the great plan of things.
Yeah, it's a bit prescriptive. I mean, 400 years ago, you'd only had a 30-year window. Now you have a 70 or an 80-year window.
Yes.
It's getting bigger all the time. Why shouldn't it extend?
Yeah, but no, that's okay. Natural life is fine. This is just interfering with it a little bit, isn't it, really? Hey, well, anyway, listen, Jeremy, this is silly, because you know as well as I do, it ain't going to work. You could succeed in bringing some brain-dead people to life, and who would want to look after them?
Well, that you're right. I mean, look...
these people are going to be impaired in all kinds of ways. They'll be walking zombies, even if you could get them back to life.
That is a strong possibility. But, there are...
But I think you owe it to your readers, Jeremy, of The New Scientist, to actually, explore some of the problems that they may incur. Not only could they be freezing themselves for a long time, they could, in fact, be brought back to life in a horrible, horrible mutation of their former selves.
And then sue the New Scientist.
Well, the New Scientist won't be around then, will it?
How do you know?
No, I'm sure we'll be around. But
it'll be the old Scientist then.
It might be. No, hang on. Part of the deal is that nobody gets brought back until all the technology is in place to fix them up. So hang on, let me just... So when you freeze somebody, you damage their cells. When you thaw them out, you've got the poisonous effects of the antifreeze to overcome. Then you've got to reverse the things that happen when you die. All sorts of cellular changes happen, so you've got to reverse that. And then you've got to cure whatever it was that killed them in the first place. So you've got these 4 things you've got to do.
And you've got all this written down, have you, with the bodies? So that the future inhabitants...
Yes, that will all be there. That will all be there.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you know, this will not... People will not be taken out of the freezer until all these things can be done. So, now, it is a very, very tall order, but if they come out, they'll come out intact. That's the plan.
And if they're not intact, if they're sort of impaired, one arm dropped off during thawing or something like that, or the body was dropped, it got cracked in the middle or something, then they wouldn't be brought back to life.
Well, the chances are that if they can bring somebody back to life, they will be able to grow you a new arm.
Yeah, I suppose that's a nice idea. A nice idea.
You know,
I mean, the problem is, of course, that it's not going to work because the soul will already have gone.
No,
so
we're back to the soul.
Well, I'm sorry, but the soul will leave. You know, the soul does go. The soul. Now, we were talking to Michael Roll. You may not have heard of him.
No.
Who was the guy who had the mathematical equation that proved life after death?
Michael somebody?
Something like that.
Michael Oates?
I can't remember anyway. And he has a mathematical equation that proves that life continues after death. You'd be interested in that. I suggested he get in touch with you, but he said your magazine wasn't big enough for his...
No, that's right. Send them to Nature.
Why Nature?
Well, they deal with original theories.
You were going to say nuts, weren't you? Yes, you were.
Does he write in green ink?
No, he's a very learned man. Very learned, and thousands of followers.
Good.
Not unlike David Icke. But, anyway, so when does the competition appear in the magazine?
It appeared today.
Oh, today?
Yes.
So it's this month's magazine?
It's weekly.
And you have to collect the magazine, don't you?
You have to collect...
It's a very, very cunning...
3 of the next 5 issues.
Right.
And snip out a coupon and answer some simple questions, and then we will select the best entry.
Has there been any possibility of you having to face inquiries for bad taste on this or not? Or?
Well, there's no doubt that some of our readers will absolutely hate it because they'll see it as nonsense science. So I'm sure the letters column in the next few weeks will be loaded with complaints.
Some people have just got no interest in anything, have they?
On the other hand, there will be people who want to sign up without a doubt. So.
Yeah. Okay. I still think you should just mention the fact that they could be reborn without the soul, which could well have left.
Well, it should have a sort of health warning on it.
Yeah, I think so. Remember, your soul may leave.
Okay, all right.
I think that's important, honestly, Jeremy.
Fine.
Jeremy.
Call me Brian.
No, I know. Brian's a nice name. So anyway, this is going to Michigan.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, one last thing.
Yes?
You get yourself frozen, you put in there, supposing vandals broke into the Institute, wrecked all the casks, supposing there was a fire, supposing there was an earthquake...
Well, yeah, that story in France where the judge made them take the bodies out.
Yep. Supposing that happened, supposing, 200 years' time, the next ice age is here...
Yep.
All sorts of things could happen.
Absolutely, but according to you, the end of the world is coming.
Well, it is. I'm just asking you. I mean, I know that it's not necessary.
Those things could happen. Now our prize is that we pay for the contract between the person who wins and the Cryonics Institute.
And how can we be sure?
It's then up to them to sort out things like that. But yeah, sure, these things could happen. Now the
company could go bust.
The Institute makes a big play of all its kind of its plans for the long distant future. I mean, it's earthquake-proof allegedly, and all these things. But sure, you could end up with a whole lot of defrosting corpses.
God, how disgusting! Think of the smell. I would go for the holiday and then sell it to a friend.
Fine. Okay.
That's just my choice.
Well, you go for it.
Yeah. I'm going to go and get my copy of the New Scientist on the way home.
Good.
Jeremy, thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome.
I hope it boosts your circulation.
Well, I hope so too.
Won't be doing much for the circulation of the people who get frozen, of course. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jeremy Webb, editor of the New Scientist magazine. If you would like to enter this most entertaining prize competition, get hold of the New Scientist, find out all about it, and who knows, you could be well on your way to frostbite.
Are you in your
car? Hi, James. I'm just driving along and I'm listening to Mr. Cryogenics and I'm pondering the fact of if you pay your money to one of these places and get cryogenically frozen, and then they decide to turn the machine off, is that murder?
I don't know. It's a good point, isn't it? Apparently these places have enormous insurance policies that cover every eventuality, but somebody who really didn't like you breaking in, I suppose, or if the machines failed for some reason, is that manslaughter? I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
I think
anyway.
I think anybody who gets frozen with the hope that they're going to be brought round in the future is barking mad.
Oh, that without saying, that goes without saying. But I was just wondering, like, how it would stand in law because, I mean, you're hoping to be brought back, aren't you? So.
Yeah. I don't know, because, there wouldn't be, if you like, an injured party, I suppose, because as far as the law was concerned, you're already dead. It could be considered to be fraud, I suppose, because, you'd paid for a service and blatantly they weren't supplying that service.
But if somebody, like you say, if it's just somebody that didn't like you and wanted to make sure you definitely didn't come back and they did it.
Yeah. I think that the most you could hope for is criminal damage.
All right. Excellent.
I think.
Not that I'm thinking of doing it.
No, well, I mean, I think it's the height of arrogance to think anybody would be interested in you in their time.
Yeah.
All
right, well, thanks anyway, James.
All right, mate. Drive safely.
Mate.
Bye. 08704 20 20 20. Just mad. Later tonight, I'm going to talk to a young lady called Lee. I hope it's a lady. I just assumed it was. Is it? Anyway,
I don't know.
I don't know either. Lee Lawson.
Well, it could be a bloke.
It could be a bloke.
I think it's a bloke, actually.
Yeah. Author of Visitations from the Afterlife. Lee is, anyway. It is her. Her stories of visitations she herself has had on numerous occasions, the first of which was when she was only 5. As well as being visited herself, Lee has researched many other cases throughout the world where other people have been visited by those who have long since passed on. Anyway, we'll find out more. Stephen in Brighton.
James.
Stephen.
Hello, mate. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yes.
James, I just got to tell you, mate, that was the most priceless interview I've ever heard on radio in my entire life. Yes. I can't stop chuckling, mate.
Yeah, well, listen, it's made you think about buying the magazine, though.
Oh, leave me alone. I'll tell you what, mate, the only thing you didn't ask him, mate, I just said to your bloke there, the only thing you should have asked him was whether or not he'd had a frontal lobotomy. I've never heard such in my entire life.
Stevie, this is a very serious business.
Oh, shut up!
Cryogenics is a very serious and big money-making operation in the States.
James!
Yeah, no, honestly, mate.
I'll tell you what, mate, I've nearly lost control of this motor 4 times.
I wish you'd pull over. Pull over.
Just tell me this, mate. Is that bloke honestly for real?
He is the editor of the very prestigious New Scientist magazine.
James,
yes.
Do me one favour, mate.
Of course, yes.
Advertise on the air for one single punter that subscribes to that magazine.
Well, listen, after this, there's going to be thousands, because everybody... Well, hang on. The holiday in Hawaii ain't that funny.
This bloke thinks everything's funny.
A holiday in Hawaii, courtesy of the New Scientist magazine. Yeah, righto, mate. Yeah. Can you imagine turning up at the airport? Hello, mate, I've got some tickets. Oh, yeah, I've just got from the Scientist magazine.
Well,
this is the most laughing man ever.
I'd like some of whatever he's got. I mean, yes.
No, that was brilliant, mate. Honest to God, I listen to your show most nights. I'll tell you what, mate, that was just wonderful. I love the way you put down the odd punter every now and then, but you just kept on coming up with your tuppence worth. That was just priceless radio, mate. Well done.
Thank you, Stevie, very much. You think I paid him to come on the air, wouldn't you, really?
Honestly, mate, that was excellent. Well done.
Take it easy, and...
don't ever have laughing gas.
No, never have laughing gas.
Shut up, mate.
No, bye-bye. I'm completely worn out with that. Tony in London, you're on the James Whale Show. Hello, Tony.
Hi, James.
Hiya, Tony.
It's me again.
Italian Tony.
See. Listen, you are the best auditor I ever heard. Okay?
Okay, go on.
I've just come back from Italy on a cheap Irish airliner.
Yeah, go on.
While I was in Italy, a similar calling station like TalkSport,
Yeah.
which is they have it in Italy too, you know?
Yeah.
A 92 years old Italian Jewish caller, one of the few Holocaust survivors of concentration camps,
Yeah.
expressed something very profound. I repeat, profound.
Okay.
He said, while hundreds of his compatriots, plus gypsy, etc., with no choice, were put in gas chambers, this 92 years old said, where was this considerate and benevolent God while all this lot were getting gas? So he said, if it exists, who needs him?
Well, I think the answer, and I'm not standing up for any religion, but I suppose the answer has to be that if you believe in God, you have to believe in the devil. And that time in the world's existence, the devil obviously had the upper hand.
Right.
That's a bit profound, wasn't it, really, for me on a Thursday night?
I suppose so.
It was a little profound, that. I'm sorry, yeah. Anyway, Tony, nice.
No, hold on.
Hold on, what's up? What's up? What do you want, huh?
What do you want, huh? I want to tell you one more thing.
Okay. Hey.
I close by saying that you are top well after your operation, and don't worry until you're around 90.
Well, listen, if I get to 90, I won't worry.
You know why, James?
Go on.
My Italian grandfather used to say that after 90, the years fly.
Tony, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Tony. Bye-bye. 08704 20 20 20. If you want to take a break, you do, don't you, really?
Yeah.
You do, okay. I think we'll call you back.
Oh, no problem.
Because you've been waiting a while.
Okie dokie.
And we've got to take the news next. So if I put you on hold, we'll come back and talk to you after the news.
All right, man, lovely.
Right. Thank you, Tim.
All right.
I see Dave in Bamber Bridge is also on. Yes, Davey?
Yes, sir.
What?
Yeah, well, I'm going all hot and bothered up here. You're coming to the news, but it's very unchristian of you talking to this woman, talking about this, she's been talking to the dead again. I mean, here am I got the applications in for your program, and it's going to be closed down if you keep going on like this. I'm getting really upset up here. No wonder they're beginning to call me Mad Dave. I'm trying to save you.
Yeah,
for which you're going to go on holiday.
Well, thank you very much indeed. But it's all down to the producer who picks out the guests of the program. The producer is totally responsible.
I must have a talk with these producers. I mean, they're going balmy. Have you got females there?
Yeah,
female producers.
Yeah, this is a bloke producer who's chosen this guest.
Well, do you think I should sometimes have a word with him? Because
I do.
I don't want the show closing down. I mean, you're going on holiday, and that's why I want to take her. You ought to be going to the holiday, don't you?
Yeah, I'm
taking the wife on the train.
Yeah. What you said about... I tried to get the wife in tonight. She's had such an exciting social life recently.
Well,
she thought she should stay at home, and at this particular moment, she is doing the ironing.
Oh, that's very good of her. I'll send her some of mine. I need some ironing doing.
Yeah, send it over.
Mine get my woman because she likes stripping off and going all over the place. Here, my shirts.
Oh, that's this.
Bernard Manning, can you just take a few seconds with me?
Yeah, go on.
No, we haven't really got time.
I believe he's got an area of all of his own on Blackpool Tower, I know.
Yes, he has. Thank you very much indeed. Dave from Bamber Bridge is completely barking back after the news.
Hi, James.
Norrie.
Cryogenics, James.
Yeah.
One question. I mean, if you die and they're going to look for a cure for your death in 1,000 years, what if you died of hypothermia?
Well, yes, if you died of hypothermia, I don't think it matters, really. I think anything you die of, These people reckon that maybe in 100, 400, 500,000 years' time, technology will be so good that they can bring any kind of human life back.
All right. Well, I mean, if they freeze you, but you died of freeze in the first place, I think you've got a problem, don't you?
Well, I don't know. I think the whole thing's ridiculous anyway. So, I think if you had the audacity to want to be frozen after your death, I think probably the only good thing I can think about it is that it takes a lot of pressure off the crematorium and the graveyard.
For a little while.
For a little while. However long. Well, once you're in there, apparently you're in there until they can find some way of bringing you back to life.
By that time you're dust.
No, well, you'll never be dust because they keep you frozen.
Yeah.
So, you're always going to be frozen. You're going to be frozen in time. What the most likely thing is in 500 years, 1,000 years' time, these places will be discovered, and they'll find these deep frozen human beings that used to roam this earth back in the 21st century, and they'll probably have them stuffed and mounted and put in museums. Look what they're doing to the mummies of the Egyptian pharaohs.
Yeah, well, they bring them back to life.
Well, they're not, but they're taking them out of their coffins and they're putting them on display. I mean, who wants to end up like that?
Exactly.
All right, mate.
Exactly.
Listen. Thank you for your call.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Phil is on the M6. Hi, Phil.
I do.
What about Walt Disney? He is supposedly frozen. What the hell will he be able to contribute when he comes back? Well, probably another cartoon from the 25th century or something. Boss Hogg from Solihull says, I think all fox hunters should be made to fight a fox hand to hand in a room, just them and the fox, because foxes are savage animals that go for people. I think it's slightly silly, Boss Hogg, but...
Boss Hogg is silly, though.
He is, it's very silly.
Not
Very
as silly
fat.
as Roscoe.
No, he's silly. Peter wants to know, where is Roger from Bristol? Don't know, I haven't heard from him for a while. Have you heard him?
Nothing, no, not a sausage.
Paul Marsh, Bury St Edmunds, says, just a quick note to say that I've lived in the countryside all my life, and these inbreds, or whatever they are, performing this demonstration do not represent myself or any other person I know. Frankly, everyone I know despises fox hunting, and these freaks who go to sad lengths to preserve this perverse pastime take them all somewhere quietly, and don't think I'll read that last bit out. It's quite menacing, but get the idea. Carl from Cardiff says the reason that cryonics or cryogenics needs to take the blood and any other fluid out of the body because it contains water, and when water is frozen it expands, and in the body this would mean bursting every artery, vein and capillary. It could work, because if the body is meant to be used at a later date, surely the soul is complex enough to realize it needs to hang around a while for a second go at life. The choices of prize should be equal, though. You're right, James. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much indeed. How long would it take to get from Hawaii to the Cryonics place? Don't know. John from Birmingham. James, you're a prat talking about mathematical equations proving there's life after natural death. I have a mathematical equation that proves 1 = 1 is 1. So please leave the maths to those who know. What is he talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's a nutcase, obviously. Patrick Hillary in Bracknell. Hello, Hillary, you're on the air.
Hello.
People say no. Lee Lawson is author of Visitations from the Afterlife, which is a book that tells her stories of visitations she herself has had on numerous occasions. She joins me on the line now from the States. Lee, good evening to you.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself and about the visitations and when they happened.
Well, I'm a painter, an artist, and I have been having, I've had visitations all of my life, not a great many, but every few years I've had a visitation. I had my first one at age 5.
Mm-hmm.
and then subsequent visitations from a variety of relatives and friends who passed over. So it's been, and they've all been spontaneous. I'm not a medium or psychically gifted in any particular way. So these have been spontaneous experiences of feeling the presence with me in the room of somebody who has died. And about 3 years ago, when I decided to write about this experience, sort of come out of the closet because I really hadn't spoken of it very much before, I collected several hundred stories from people from around the world, from all different religions and from no religion, and so many people have had this experience, and no one was really talking about it before.
Okay, let's go back, not to the first one you had when you were 5, but maybe the last one you had.
Well, I would say one of the last ones that I had was one from my, I was dating a man. I had just really met him. We had only been out 2 times, and I had a visitation from his father. Now, I didn't know whether this man even had a father, whether the father was dead. I didn't know anything about him, really, about his personal life. And I had this visitation, and this man said, I am Martin's father, and he told me a great deal about himself and about his son. And he told me how he died, and gave me a message to give to Martin. Well, I was a little hesitant because I didn't want this man to think I was totally crazy, but I did end up telling him what happened. And indeed, his father had died exactly as I had been told, and the message that I gave him meant a great deal to him. And one of the things the father had said was that Martin and I would marry, and we did. We married a couple of years after that, and have been together for quite a while now.
And you've had no visitations, really, since you got married?
Well, I have had some, but a lot of times they are just a sense of presence. Sometimes there's communication, and sometimes it's just a wonderful sense of someone being with you. And so there's really not much to tell about those, where you just sort of have an overwhelming sense of your mother being in the room.
Why do you think you get them?
I'm an artist. I'm very right-brained, very intuitive type. I really am. As an artist, I spend much of my time being receptive, sitting in a room in front of a canvas being receptive. So I think it's probably somewhat my nature.
I know lots of artists, and I don't know any that have visitations.
Well, and I understand that, too, because I expected, when I started collecting stories for the book, I expected a lot of artists and intuitive types, and I got just as many people who were scientists or lawyers or, very kind of left-brain, rational people. So I don't know. I don't know what... I've been asked that many times. I don't know why some people have them and some don't. And there are obviously people like your medium and other mediums who have them at will. But this book is really about spontaneous experiences, just by very ordinary people who didn't even necessarily believe in an afterlife.
Have you changed the way since you've had these all your life, so you've always lived with this, presumably?
Yes.
Has this made you a very religious person?
I'm not religious at all. I'm very spiritual, but I have no affiliations with any churches of any sort. For me, that is kind of the opposite of the experience that you have during a visitation. Apart from the wonderful experience of being with somebody who you love and who you thought you might not see again, you also, one of the great things is that life is eternal, and you are really recontextualized in a much larger arena than just, whatever this life is here on Earth. I'm part of this larger life, and so I think I've always been very aware of the larger context of my life.
Why do you think some people can have this and some people can't then? Because there are some people who go to extraordinary lengths to try and make contact with somebody they loved dearly who died, and they never can.
I know, James. I have been asked that so many times, because people who say that they are totally receptive, they would like it more than anything, and who don't have it, and other people who are not receptive and do. So I don't know the answer to that. And I think people have, as you said, they've tried extraordinary things from fasting and strange religious practices and very sincere prayer, and I just don't know that you can make it happen.
Oh dear. Do you think that this kind of... somebody said to you, look, okay, Lee, I need some proof of this. Could you give them proof?
I could give them only a kind of a subjective proof in the same way that when my husband's father came to me, he told me a great many things that I didn't know.
I mean, sorry, go on.
Well, and then I also have a couple of stories in the book. I have one where a woman is just about finding a closure with her divorce, with the financial settlement, when her dead uncle comes to her and says, listen, your husband is withholding money, and here's exactly how much. And there are always stories about somebody coming back to say the will is the back of a brick, and that kind of, something like that. So there are those kind of things, information that you didn't have from normal channels, or sometimes predictions of things that later come true.
I mean, do any of the visitations, have any of these visitations you've had been people that you could see?
I've had a variety of experiences. There have been times when I have had several from my father. There was one time when I saw him, not as firmly embodied as a normal person, but I saw him. And then other times when I have just felt his energy, just his presence. People speak about hearing, about seeing, about an energetic shift, which is almost always felt. Some people have these while awake, many people, and then some people have them while dreaming, and when they're dreaming, they tend to see a lot more because they're, in that state where they're able to dream in full imagery.
But how do you know that that wasn't just a dream?
When you have a visitation during a dream, it is so unlike a normal dream. It's like waking up for the first time. You've heard the expression of expanded awareness and a satori experience where you wake up in a waking life. Well, when you have the same experience of becoming truly conscious in a dream, it's quite extraordinary. And every person who has one in a dream says that was not a dream in any sense except that my body was asleep. They are profoundly different. It's like being awake for the first time, even though you're asleep.
When your father first came to you, what did he tell you?
I was 16. He had just died of cancer. It was a very grueling, horrible kind of death. And he knew how very upset I was at seeing him in that condition. And so it was a couple of months after he died, and he came to me and he said, I want you to see, not only am I alive, but look at me. And this was the instance in which I did see him. I'm well, and he was radiantly well. He was more than healthy. And so he really wanted to ease my mind, because apart from my terrible grief about losing him was this sense of the real horror that he had been through. And he wanted me to know that that was gone. That was completely gone, and that his well-being was quite total and greater than it had ever been.
Lee, will you stay with me? I have to take a commercial break, and
Sure.
I'd like to come back and talk with you a little more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Get back on track with the right person in your...
Welcome back. I'm speaking with Lee Lawson, who is the author of Visitations from the Afterlife, a collection of stories about people like herself who have had visitations from, they say, souls of people who've passed over. Do you say souls, or am I just making that up? I mean, do you think these are souls, or these are actually the next stage of life?
Well, I think that souls, spirits, I think you can use any number of words for them, but I think what transcends this life is the essential part. So I'd say soul would be a great word for it.
Now, we were talking about your dad that came back to you. He came back to you a couple of times.
Yes.
Does he come back to you regularly now? Is it like you have little meetings?
No. I wish. I would like that very much.
Did he say he wouldn't come back anymore?
No, he didn't say that. About 10 years after that, maybe 12 years after that, one day I was painting in my studio, and I had a visitation from him. And this time I didn't see him. I just felt him. The entire room was just charged with his presence. And I said to him, what are you doing here? And it was a very loving experience. And he said, I've come to help your mother. And it was just such an ecstatic experience. It wasn't until a few hours later that I thought, I wonder why my mother needs help, because my mother was really just fine. And the following morning, my mother was in a car accident that caused her death.
Dear.
And I knew immediately that he was saying, I will be with her. You know, you don't have to worry about it. I think we often feel when somebody dies like that, how it must have been lonely and horrifying. And I think he was saying, don't worry, I'll be there.
And were you not a little freaked out when he came and said that? Did you say, how are you going to help Mum? Did he say to you she's going to die tomorrow? Or?
No, at the time it was such, as in most visitations they tend to be very electrical states. You tend to be in a kind of heightened state of energy. So it was very, very loving, and it was just wonderful being in this loving presence of my father. And so it wasn't until the next morning when the accident occurred that I realized what he had been saying. That's when it became very clear to me.
Had you told your mum about this, your dad?
No, it was, I had not had a chance to be in touch with her between the time it happened and the time of the accident. I had told my husband, but I had not made the connection, of course.
What did your mum think about your visitations, by the way?
I think that she really, she was a fairly intuitive kind of person, and I don't believe that she had ever had a visitation herself, but I think she took it as being something that was quite real. And as I later came to find out when I collected these hundreds of stories, is that many people have believed that these
Did your mother come back to you?
My mother has not come back to me, and which has been very surprising because we were very close, and so you know, you'd think that here I have visitations and my mother died, and no, I have not experienced her.
Have you any idea why that might be, or
none whatsoever?
Have you asked any other visitation to see if they could get your mum to come back?
No, I haven't. I have sort of addressed her myself and said, look, I'd really like to have a little time with you, but no, it's odd. When you're having a visitation, you'd think that you would ask all the secrets of the universe. You know, give me the lowdown, but they tend to be fairly quick, and they tend to be pretty focused. Usually the person from the other side, the spirit, will be there with an intention, and it can be anything from you know, I'm here to comfort you, all the way to something very specific, like something about your life or something.
So they don't just come for a kind of chit-chat about nothing in particular?
Well, I have never had one that was that casual. I'm sure that some people do. Since the book came out, of course, I've had really heard hundreds of more stories, and there are people who say, "Oh yes, my husband who died is with me every day," and I imagine there's probably some chit chat that goes on.
Since your dad came back to warn or to be with your mum, has he come back again?
I know that was the last one.
Really? So that was interesting, huh?
Yes.
What do you think the place that these souls exist in is like? Do you have any idea? Have you had an insight into what it's like?
Well, I do have a chapter in the book on that, because everyone really wants to know that. Like when my father came back that first time, he not only wanted me to know that he was all right, but he wanted me to know that he was somewhere. And obviously it's not somewhere in a physical sense because it's a non-material plane, but he actually, you know, existed. And so what I've come to find out in hearing about many other visitations that had to do with that the other side, heaven, whatever you want to call it, is really a state of consciousness. And I would say that people gather by their affinities. Those who hold things in common, whether that's values or ideas, missions, whatever. People come together according to what their common values, which is not very different from here.
Yeah, that's right. So
you know, I live in California, but California, I'm not a film star, I'm not a migrant farmer. You know, California is a state of mind, even though we happen to be able to locate it on a map.
So you think then you would be with someone of a like mind to yourself?
Yes, I think so. Which is very much what is true here. I think we gather, you know, we're attracted to one another according to really the essential things about us.
Where do you think it's a different plane here that is where souls exist, or do you think...
Well, I have several stories in the book where somebody says to the person they were visiting, they say, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm right here. Obviously, they're not material anymore, so they're not here in the sense of, you know, I could be next to you in consciousness. I'm not next to you in a body, but they almost always say, you know, somebody will say, oh, please don't leave me again, and they'll say, well, where would I go? I'm here. You know, so I think that being another dimension, it's not away from us in space, but it doesn't really relate to space.
Do you worry about having one of these visitations? I mean, is it on your mind regularly that when you go to sleep or you're on your own or something, excuse me, that it might happen?
Oh, no, and I would welcome it. I found them, and every person who sent me a story from all over the world, you find them to be the most loving, wonderful experiences of your life. These are really pivotal experiences for people. It's the before and after. They are tremendously loving, joyous experiences that many people, they say it was, you know, the beginning of my real life, because you know, it's not just that you see your grandmother, it's that you know that your life continues, that you're part of this eternal, you don't understand this eternal pattern, but you know that you're part of something much larger, and it changes everyone.
Okay. Lee, thank you for spending some time with us.
My pleasure. Thank
nice
you for
speaking
inviting
with you.
me.
That's my pleasure, too. Your book, Visitations from the Afterlife, is available in this country.
Actually, in the United Kingdom, it is by Thorson's, and it's called, let's see, it's called Love Letters from the Infinite.
Is it really?
Yes, from Thorson's, yes.
Love Letters from the... Why couldn't they call it the same?
I have no idea. That's a greater mystery to me than the afterlife.
Lee, thank you very much indeed for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Lee Lawson, Love Letters from... where was it? Love Letters from...
Was it Love Letters from the After... From Eternity?
From Eternity, yeah. That's right, yeah. Thorson's. If you go to our website, talksport.net, the details of Lee's book will be there as well. Right. Did you want a break?
Yeah.
I thought you did.
The TalkSport Desert Golf...
Bruce says in Dagenham, he emailed me. The James Wells Show. Hello, you're on the air. Hello? Who's that?
This is Norrie.
Norrie?
Yeah, from Bognor Regis.
Not Noriega.
No.
Just Norrie.
Yeah.
All right, Norrie. From Bognor.
Yeah.
Norrie from Bognor. I was in Bognor the other day.
That's a nice place.
Just a little cafe on the seafront, opposite those. Oh no, I think I was in Bexhill on the Sea.
Yeah.
Which is similar, I know. Okay. Anyway, what can I do for you, Norrie?
Sorry to drone on about this, but
you carry on, mate. You drone on if you want.
It was Crybaby. That was the name of the band.
Crybaby.
Named
that's
after
right.
the Wah Wah pedal.
Yeah, Crybaby. Thank you very much. Yeah. Sorry, Norrie. It was just.
I'd like to suggest that, you know the Temple Mount in Israel.
Yes. Well, I don't know it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
And you've heard of the Dome of the Rock.
I have.
Well, the fact that the one sits upon the other, doesn't that suggest that the Holy Land belongs to the Israelites?
I don't care, to be honest. I'm sorry, Norrie, to really...
.org.uk